Welcome to the deep dive. You've given us the source, and we're here to pull out the really fascinating bits. You know, the stuff that sticks with you, makes you feel like you've actually grasped something new.
Mhm.
And today, that something is Rajasthan. We're digging into episode 1 of the podcast, Echoes of the Desert. It's called Rajasthan, the Royal Heart of India.
Exactly. And our goal isn't just like repeating what the podcast said.
Mm.
It's more about exploring why these details about Rajasthan's history, its
Mhm.
culture, its geography, why they're so compelling as presented there.
Right.
Think of it like getting behind the postcard, understanding the story behind that image.
Okay, so Echoes of the Desert, it starts geographically. And what immediately struck me was just, well, how big Rajasthan is.
Yeah.
It's India's largest state, way up in the northwest, sharing that border with Pakistan. But what's interesting, and what the podcast highlighted pretty quickly, is moving beyond just the, stereotypical desert idea.
Absolutely. That image of just like endless sand dunes, it gets complicated fast. I mean, yes, the Thar Desert is huge, it's significant.
Right.
But then you've got the Ara Valley Range, these ancient mountains running through it. That creates a totally different kind of landscape.
A geological backbone, kind of.
Exactly. And then think about the lakes around Udaipur. So you have this mix, this juxtaposition of really arid areas and then, relatively speaking, more fertile spots near the water.
And that mix must have shaped everything, right?
Fundamentally.
Yeah.
It's not just scenery. It shaped how communities developed, how they managed water, their economies, everything really.
That makes a lot of sense. You just wouldn't get the same kind of towns or farming across such different terrains. And speaking of shaping things, the name itself, Rajasthan, Land of Kings, that really sets a historical stage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The podcast mentions cities like Jaipur, Jodhpur, Udaipur, Bikaner, saying they're basically steeped in history. It's not just old buildings. It's like stories everywhere.
Precisely. And the episode touches on figures who are much more than just names in a history book. Take Maharaja Pratap and his horse, Chetak.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Their story. It's not just about a battle. It's become this enduring symbol, loyalty, resistance. It's woven right into the culture.
Wow.
And then there's Queen Padmini of Chittorgarh. Now, historians debate the details, obviously, but the narrative around her has become this powerful symbol of Rajput valor, of sacrifice.
So these aren't just old tales.
No, they feel very present. They're like foundational myths that still inform the region's identity today.
Right, that sense of like living history. When the podcast said those stories echo in every stone of the forts and palaces, you really get that feeling. It's not just history they read about, it's something they live with.
Absolutely.
That must add such a layer of depth if you visit these places.
It really does. And if you think bigger picture, these narratives often about bravery, resilience against, pretty tough odds. They've helped build this really strong sense of regional pride, a distinct cultural identity within India. It's about that collective memory, standing their ground.
And that identity sounds incredibly vibrant. Echoes of the Desert really painted this picture, just an explosion of color. In the people, the music, and definitely the festivals.
Oh, yeah.
They listed a few. The Pushkar Camel Fair, Gangwar, Tej, the Desert Festival of Jaisalmer. They called that one electrifying.
Yeah.
What makes these more than just, a fun party?
Well, what's fascinating is how deeply connected these festivals are to everything else.
Yeah.
To agricultural cycles, religious beliefs, even historical events sometimes.
Okay.
They really act as this vital social glue. They bring communities together. They reinforce traditions. Like the Pushkar Camel Fair, yeah, it's a huge livestock market, but it also has deep spiritual meaning, plus music, dance.
Yeah.
It reflects the local culture.
So not just colorful events, but really crucial threads in the social fabric.
Exactly.
A camel fair with spiritual significance. You don't hear that every day. And then the podcast mentioned the visuals too, those bright turbans, the mirror work on the dresses.
Intricate stuff.
Yeah. And the movements, the Gumar and Kalbalia dances, it just sounds like a total feast for the senses.
It really is. And these aren't just like random aesthetic choices. They often carry symbolic meaning, developed over centuries.
Oh, like what?
Well, the mirror work, for instance. In some communities, it's believed to ward off the evil eye. And the specific patterns, the colors of the turbans. They can tell you about someone's social standing or maybe which region they're from. And the dances themselves, their storytelling, social expression, passed down through generations.
Wow. Okay, shifting gears, something that always gets my attention, the food.
Oh, yes.
The podcast called Rajasthan, A Feast for Your Taste Buds. It threw out names like dal bati churma,
A classic.
lal maz, gewar, and these kachoris that apparently just melt in your mouth. What's the story behind this kind of food?
Well, a lot of Rajasthani cuisine developed because of the environment, the arid climate.
Makes sense.
Many dishes were designed to last a long time without refrigeration. And the spices aren't just for flavor, though they are flavorful. Some have preservative qualities, too.
Right, practical.
Exactly. Dishes like dal bati churma, they're really nutritionally dense, perfect for a desert climate. But what's also interesting is how much regional variation there is. It showcases, different local crops, different preferences.
So it's not all the same across the state.
Not at all. And hospitality is huge. Sharing food is just central to the whole cultural experience there.
Sounds delicious. The environment really dictates so much, doesn't it? How people live, what they eat.
So if all this has got our listener thinking about maybe planning a trip, where did Echoes of the Desert suggest starting? They mentioned 5 gems.
Yes, they highlighted 5 key places as good starting points. There's Jaipur, the Pink City, the capital, grand palaces, bustling markets, shows you the royal history, but also the vibrant present.
Okay.
Then Udaipur, the city of lakes. That's more romantic, picturesque, with those incredible lake palaces.
Jaisalmer, the Golden City, right in the desert with its living fort that gives you a unique feel for desert life and architecture.
A living fort. Cool.
Then there's Mount Abu, unique because it's the only hill station in Rajasthan. So, cooler climate, different scenery.
A contrast.
Exactly. And finally, Ranthambore National Park, famous for tigers, so it's where that royal history kind of meets wildlife.
Wow, quite a range.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the key takeaway, I think, is that each of these places offers a really distinct flavor, a different way to see Rajasthan's, multifaceted identity.
Each city is a world in itself, the podcast said. And hearing all this, I can totally see why. It's not just ticking off sites. It sounds like each one offers a genuinely different experience.
Precisely. And if you connect it back, the architecture in Jaipur reflects a different kind of royal power and planning than, say, the strategic desert fortress of Jaisalmer.
Right.
Udaipur's lake culture fostered different traditions compared to the drier regions. Each city really embodies a unique chapter in Rajasthan's big story.
So, wrapping up this deep dive on Rajasthan, seen through Echoes of the Desert. It's just clear this region has incredible depth, incredible variety. It's so much more than just sand dunes and camels.
Oh, absolutely.
It's diverse landscapes, history etched in stone, a culture that's just bursting with life, amazing food, and these cities that each tell their own story.
Yeah, the podcast really nailed the idea that Rajasthan is more than just a place to visit. It's an immersive experience. That description of it being an emotion, that really resonates, doesn't it?
It does.
It's where centuries of history are still palpable, still influencing the present. And like the episode said so well, it's where that vibrant culture and the stunning landscapes, they create these memories that feel almost timeless.
It sounds completely captivating. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, about like the individual artisans who made that mirror work you mentioned, or the generations of musicians keeping those dances alive. Maybe our listener will be inspired to look into, I don't know, the specific styles of Rajput painting, or maybe the different dialects spoken across the state, things we didn't even get into.
That's a wonderful thought. And it just highlights, doesn't it, that while we've scratched the surface, there are just countless layers of detail, of human stories waiting within Rajasthan's rich tapestry. It's a powerful reminder of the depth and resilience of human culture.
Well said. Thanks for taking this fascinating deep dive with me today. And thank you for joining us. Until our next exploration.